Akutevach, this is Gemara Nedarim Daf Chof. Hey, we're holding in the bottom of Chof Dalet and Beis. We're in the middle of discussing the parallel between Nidrei Havai and the Shigig and Shavuos Havai. When we have cases of exaggeration, the case of hyperbole, cases in which one says something which is utterly impossible and ridiculous actually happened. For example, that he says that he saw 600,000 strong, like those that are Oile Mitzrayim, or whether he said he's a snake like the size of a Kairas Beis Abad, the pressing beam of an Aleph. And we pick it up 2 lines from the bottom, in which Ravina comments to Rav Ashi. We're 2 lines from the bottom again. Chav Dalid Amid Beis. Amar le Ravina li Rav Ashi, says Ravina to Rav Ashi. Vidilma, and perhaps, Hi Gavra, this person asks Ravina to Rav Ashi, Kina dishum shemi chaza. Quite an interesting, almost humorous question asks the Gemara. Maybe when this person said he saw 600,000 on this road, you know what he meant? He saw an anthill. That's what he meant. Gavra kina dishum shemi chazai. He saw an anthill. Ve'asik Chazav, Asik Lahain, and he gave them the name Shama, he gave them the name Oile Mitzrayim. Meaning, there were 2 details that we have to figure out. Number 1, that he saw 600,000 people on this road. And number 2, that he referred to them as Oile Mitzrayim. Says the Gemara, perhaps what's going on over here is, what did he see? He saw 600,000. How in the world did he see 600,000? Oh, they were ants. Geschmack. 600,000 ants. Beautiful. But where are the Oile Mitzrayim? He named the anthill. Interesting. He gave the anthill a name of Oile Mitzrayim. And therefore, Vishaber Mishtaba. And therefore, why are you telling me, asked Ravina to Rav Ashi, that this is the case of Shavuos Havai? This is the case of an exaggerated, ridiculous Shavuah? Maybe not. Maybe it's a beautiful, clear shvuah that he made. He swore that he is saying that he actually did see 600,000 and they were an anthill that he referred to as Oile Mitzrayim. An interesting ukimta, an interesting way of potentially learning the Gemara. But again, as we always know, as soon as there's a way that it could potentially make sense, then the Gemara has a case to go upon. So says Rav Ashi, responding back to Ravina, as we turn over to Chavei Amar Aleph, Amar Lei, Rav Ashi misvans ki mishtava adaita didon mishtava. Rav Ashi responds with a klal, with the rule that when someone makes a shvuah, he doesn't make a shvuah based on his own interesting, convoluted mindset that he meant, doesn't mean people, he meant ants, and he meant that he named the anthill Oile Mitzrayim. Says Rav Ashi, no, when someone makes a shvuah, he does it according to the way that we understand that which he says. Ve'anan, and us, and Bezdin, and as the general populace, loy maskina nafsheina mishum shemi. Do not give names to ants. I hope, maybe we should take a poll. I don't believe anyone here has been giving names to anthills recently. I don't think people have been walking out saying, hey, you see those ants, 600,000, that's the Oile Mitzrayim. I don't think so. It says Rav Ashi, so that's not included in his shvuah. So asks back the Gemara, Valdaita din avshei lo avid inish de mishtava. Rav Ashi, you just said a klal. You just said a rule that when people make a shvuah, they don't do it on their own das, they do it on our das, they do it on the general das, they do it on that which is normal. Says the Gemara, is that true? Ve'ha Tanya. We're going to have a few questions on this rule of Rav Ashi, in which he suggested that when one makes a shvuah, he does it based on the general knowledge that people have. Asks the Gemara, we learned in a brisa, 4 lines down, Chavei Amar Aleph, when someone is made, when the Dayanim make someone make a shvuah, they tell him, this is any case of a shvuah, as the Ran, yes, As the Ran points out, this is referring to, the Ran says, the case of Moedev and Mixas, a case when someone admits in part, halacha is he has to make a shvuah. So when we make him swear, we tell him, we tell him, Hevi Yadeya, you should know. You're not swearing on some sort of condition, whatever's in your heart. Elo, when you're swearing in Bezdin, al daite no, on our das, val das Bezdin, and on the das of Bezdin. So says the Gemara, why do the Bayanim? Why does the Bezdin have to make this interesting and unique condition with a person when he makes a shvu on Bezdin? Seemingly lafuke mai. Why are they doing this? It seems to be because they're coming to preclude and exclude from a case. Lafuke mai Bezdin valdas Bezdin. Lafuke, seemingly we're coming to include lafuke mai, one more time. Lav lafuke da'asik loho, in a case where he in his own mind thought is kanduri, that the case of wooden chips, that he gave a bag of wooden chips to the person that he owed money to. Va'asik loho in shema zuzi, and this guy named his wooden chips Zuzi, money. Just like a moment ago, some guy named the ants, Eili Mitzrayim. This guy took a bag of garbage, a bag of wood chips, and named them Zuz, play money. And he gave the play money to the Baal Chayv. And we're nervous that when he comes to Bezdin and we make him make a shvuah, he's going to say, great, no big deal, I'll swear. What's he thinking? He's thinking that I quote-unquote paid because he called this play money, these wood chips, Zuzi. So says the Gemara, that's a braisa. From the fact that we're required to do this, for the fact that the Dayanim tell him that you're swearing based on our das. So we see that there must be a concept, there must be people that do indeed swear on their own das, and that's the reason why we in Bezdin have to preclude and say, no, don't think some unconvoluted mindset, you're swearing based on our das. So now we have a kasha on Rav Ashi who says that people do not swear based on their own das. Answers the Gemara. 10 lines down, the first word line is din avshei. Loi. La'afuke, you know what this case of when the Dayanim make him swear is coming to exclude. Meikanya de Rava. The case of the Kanya, the case of the cane of Rava. What's this interesting case of the cane of Rava? Says the Gemara, a fascinating story. There's a person that owed his friend money. Rava came from Rava. He came to Rava and he said to the borrower, go pay me what you owe me. Go jump in a lake. I paid you already. Rava. Rava says, you're saying that you paid already? So it says Rava back to the Eloiva. Rava in Kain Zilish Tabale de Prate. You say you paid? Great. Go and swear. So the borrower, Azul Vaise Kanya, the man went, took his cane, Viav Zuzi Bigavei, and he put the cash inside the cane. Okay, what does that help? Vahave Mistamach Vazul, and he was leaning on the cane, and he was walking, and he walks into Bezdin. This is, I guess, one of the, I don't want to say first, but one of the wonderful kana artists in history. Amar Leila Malva. So this man walks into Bezdin with his cane, and he has to make a shvuah. So he takes his cane. Amar Leila Malva, Nakotai Kanya biyadach. Can you hold this cane in your hand? Seemingly, why did he give the Malva the cane? So he could hold the Sefer Torah. We know that when you make a shvuah, you hold the Sefer Torah. So he gave the Malva the cane, and then Nosav Sefer Torah. This guy took the Sefer Torah in his hand, Vishtaba Tepare, and he made a shvuah that he paid Kolmad Havale Biyadeh, whatever is in his hand. He basically, with a clear conscience, says, I paid you. What's he thinking? That he did. Why? Because the money was in the cane. And as the borrower was making the shvuah, the malva, the lender, was holding the cash. He didn't know about it, but he was holding the cash. So he went and he pulled his shtick and he made the shvuah. Oh, malva. That malva got enraged. Ragas. He's like, what are you talking about? You never paid me. Vitavro lahu kanya. the Malva gets upset. He smashes the cane. Vishtapach hanu zuzi lahara. And lo and behold, the cash comes flowing out onto the ground. Vishtakach, and we found out that kushta ishtaba. We found out that he indeed swore the truth. So says the Gemara that when in every case of Bezdin, we make a person swear, and we tell him, you're not swearing on your own das, but rather you're swearing on the das of Bezdin, says the Gemara, what's the reason? Not to preclude from his own das, but to preclude from this fascinating story that we want to avoid in the future. Continues the Gemara, 1 second. Fine. So that case of the Shvuah you proved to me is not a good source. But I'll tell you a different brayso. V'atanya, we learned in a brayso, v'chein matzinu, and so do we find in Moshe Rabbeinu. We find it regarding Moshe Rabbeinu, k'sheshtiba es Yisrael, when Moshe makes Klal Yisrael swear ba'arvo Yismayav, Amar lahem, Moshe tells Klal Yisrael, have a yoidim, you should know. Sheloi al datchem ani mashbiya etchem. Moshe says to Klal Yisrael, you're not swearing on your own das. Ela al daiti, says Moshe Rabbeinu, you're swearing on my das. Val das ha-makoim, and you're swearing on the das of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, v'loi itchem levadchem. As the pasuk says, and not with you alone. So says the Gemara, let's understand what Moshe Rabbeinu is telling Klal Yisrael. My Amar lo Moshe Rabbeinu. What is Moshe Rabbeinu telling Klal Yisrael? Lav achi karmelu. Is this not that which Moshe says that Dilma avidita mili va'amritan al daitenu? That maybe you do things that you don't listen to the Torah. Va'amritan, and you're going to say in your heart al daitenu that it's not a big deal. Even though I'm making a shvuah, I'm not transgressing the shvuah. Why not? Because it's the way that I understand the Torah. It's true. I made a shvuah to keep the Torah, but I have my understanding of the Torah. B'shamachi. Therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Amar Lahu, al daiti. No, don't think you could be having your own convoluted, made up, silly way of learning the Torah. No, it's a my das, says Moshe Rabbeinu. So now, says the Gemara from here, what do we see? Lafuke mai. What's this coming to exclude? Lav lafuke. Ta'asiku shem lavod chavim eloika. It's not coming to refer to a case where they gave the name a god to an idol. So what do we see? We see that people do indeed make shvuas with their own convoluted mind. So we're back to Akash and Rav Ashi on the top line. Again, Rav Ashi on the top line taught us a yisoid, a klal, that ki mishtaba adaita didon mishtaba, and he's not swearing on his own das. But says the Gemara, what do you mean? You see from Moshe Rabbeinu, that's not true. So it answers the Gemara, it's part of the Kasha, Mechlal David Inish de Mishtava Adaita Nafshei. As we just spoke out, we see people do indeed swear on their own das. Answers the Gemara, Loi, Avoiz Chavim Ikri Eloika. It's not his own das. Avoidas Chavim is called Eloiha, is called a God in the Torah. The pasuk says all the gods of Mitzrayim. So he wouldn't be making up his own das. This already has been included. So if the Klal Yisrael were made to be swearing, then this could be something that he would include. Says the Gemara, okay. V'lishava yasoin dimekaimito in mitzvahs. Ask the Gemara, so why didn't Moshe just make them swear they're going to fulfill the mitzvahs? Why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to say, Al daiti, on my das? Why didn't he just say, make a sure to fulfill the mitzvahs? Mashma. So answers the Gemara, you know, mitzvahs kamin, mitzvahs hamelech. The commandments of the king, but not necessarily the Torah. V'leshava yasa, and the mekaymin kol mitzvahs. So why didn't he make them swear that it'll fulfill all the mitzvahs, which would obviously include, even if you're going to say it means the commandments of a king, it of course means the Torah as well. Says the Gemara, mashma mitzvahs tzitzis. Maybe when he said kol mitzvahs, you know what he has in mind? The mitzvah tzitzis, the Amar Mar, as Mar has taught us something that we've seen in the past. Shkula mitzvahs tzitzis kineged kol mitzvahs sheba Torah. All we got to do is you got to read those We got to read those 7 words. Shkula mitzvah tzitzis keneged kol mitzvah Shabbat Torah. Again and again and again. What greater chizuk could we get in the wonderful mitzvah of tzitzis? That the mitzvah of tzitzis is equal to all 613. Is a Gemara. You heard it here. So, but now back to us. Now that we got our chizuk and wearing tzitzis, says the Gemara back to us. So saying kol mitzvahs wouldn't have worked. Ask the Gemara of L'Shavi Yasayin. We should make a shvuah to mekaymin in Torah. He should have made a shvuah that'll fulfill the Torah. And what does the Torah mean? It includes everything. Mashma Torah achas. Maybe it only means one Torah. What do you mean one Torah? There are 2 of them. What do you mean? Yes, Torah sheba'al peh and Torah shebechsav. So if he makes a shvuah to fulfill Torah, quote unquote, we don't know which one he means. Ask Gemara further for the Shavi Yasai to mekaymin in Torah. So maybe you should make a shvuah that'll fulfill Torah. Again, these are all trying to figure out why Moshe Rabbeinu made them make a shvuah to fulfill my das daiti. If Rav Ashi is correct that there's no such thing as own swearing based on his own das, why would Moshe Rabbeinu have to say such? Answers the Gemara: Mashma Torah mincha, Torah mashma Torah chatas, Torah asham. Even if he would have said Torah in plural, it could have been referring to different karbanos. The Shavi Yisa and the Mekaymin in Torah's mitzvahs. Why didn't he make a shvuah that'll fulfill both Torah's and mitzvahs? Torah's mashma, Torah's and mincha, mitzvahs mashma, mitzvah melech. Still, we would not have had a way that Klal Yisrael is making a shvuah to fulfill the entirety of the Torah. The Shavi Yasa and the Mekaymin in Torah kula. So maybe you should make a shvuah that'll fulfill the entire Torah. Says the Gemara, no. Torah kula mashma v'izchavim. When one says they fulfill the whole Torah, that might just mean avodas chavim, that he doesn't worship idols. Titanya, as you learned in a brayse in the last line, chamur avodas chavim shekolak kaifer ba kilu moide be'Torah kula. Really, that if you kaifer in avodas chavim, you don't worship idols. It's as if you're moide the entire Torah. Says the Gemara, okay, but the Shavi Yasayin, the Mekaymin and Avodas Chavim v'Torah kula. Says the Gemara, so why does it that Moshe Rabbeinu should have made them make a shvuah that you're going to fulfill Avodah Zarah and the entirety of the Torah? Inami, or you know what else Moshe Rabbeinu could have made them make a shvuah sheish me'os v'sholosh esrei mitzvahs that they're going to fulfill 613. So why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to say al daiti? Unless there is a understanding, not like Rav Ashi. Ela Misham. Finally, the Gemara answers in the 3rd by line. Ela Moshe Rabbeinu Mosad Latricha Nakin. You're right. Says the Gemara, Moshe Rabbeinu created a lashon, created a shvuah, which really isn't necessary. So when all is said and done, we can't ask Moshe Rabbeinu because the Gemara concludes that indeed the shvuah of Moshe Rabbeinu was not absolutely necessary. And we continue on the 4th Y line, quoting the Mishnah, and the second half of the Mishnah. The Mishnah ended off that what was the second case of a shvuah savai, of a silly, of an exaggerated shvuah. Someone says, if I don't see a snake the size of an olive press, says the Gemara, Veloy? What's going on? We know that there are massive snakes. But we know there's a certain snake that existed in the times of Shavar Malka. They fed it 13 stablesfuls of hay, and the snake ate all of it. And we know nowadays there are these massive snakes. So why is it so crazy that there's a snake the size of the olive press? Amar Shmuel, to answer Shmuel B'Taruf, the Mishnah refers that the snake was rigid like the beam of an olive press. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. All snakes are rigid. Agaboy taraf coming. Says the Gemara, no, we mean that the back is rigid, which is not common. So says the Gemara, Velisti taraf. So why did the Mishnah just say that? Why do we have to use this interesting lashon? You know what it teaches us in the second to last line of Chavtahei Amar Aleph, the Karis Beis Abad, Gavoy Taruf. It teaches us that the back of the beam of an olive press is rigid. Lamainav Kamino, who cares what the olive press beam looks like? You know why? Lemekachu memkar. We need to know for buying and selling. To teach you Amoichar Karis Beis Abad Chaveroi. Someone sells such a beam to his friend. He Gavoy Taruf in Viloy. If I come and I tell you, can I buy a beam of an olive press? You say, sure. So if you give me a beam that's rigid, then indeed it's a good sale. If not, then it is not. And now we turn over to Chavhei Amid Beis, which we continue with a new Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Nidrei Shkagos. Now we just finished Nidrei Havai, and now we're moving on. Now we are moving on to the third category that we learned back on Chaf Amid Beis of Nidrei Shkagos. A neder, a mistaken neder we could call it. A neder that you didn't mean that it should be like it is. Let's understand what this is. Says the Mishnah, Im achalti v'im shasisi. I make a neder that this item should be forbidden from me if I ate or if I drank today. And what am I thinking? I'm thinking I didn't eat, I didn't drink today. So I'm thinking, is this indeed a neder? And my thought process is no, because I didn't eat or drink today. But then, Viniska remembers, I did drink. So I never intended for the neder to be a neder. Because if I intended for the neder to be a neder, I never would have said, if I ate or drink, and I did eat and drink. So I didn't realize, I forgot. A neder of a shoygig, a mistake. Such a neder is not a good neder. Case number 2, Shani Eichel v'Shani Shaisa. I'm making a neder if I eat or if I drink. I planned on not eating and drinking, v'shakach, and I forgot. Case number 2, that it's a neder b'shogeg, that will not take effect. Case number 3, Amar kainam ishtin honestly. Someone says, I'm making my wife forbidden from me. Now this is a case that we had back in Chavez Mabis. We didn't really explain it there because we're going to explain it there. Here, someone says, I make a neder, my wife should be forbidden to get benefit from me. Shegonva eskisi. Very important. She. What does she mean? Because. He doesn't say im, like we saw in the first line of the Mishnah. Im. Here, he makes a neder against his wife. His wife could get a benefit. Why? She. Because she stole my purse. Vishe hakisa ezbini. Or because she hit my son. Clearly, this neder is not a neder that's being pinned on the act that was done. That if she hits my son, if she steals my wallet, then there should be a neder. No, that's not what he says. He says there is a neder because she did this. He's explaining the reason that he's making a neder against his wife. And then you know what happens. Apologies. And then you know what happens. V'noida shaloya kasai. And then he realizes that she didn't actually hit the kid. Then he realizes that she didn't steal. So in these cases, he made the neder because of this, and it never happened. A neder b'shoygeg. Case number 4. He sees a group of people eating figs. And he says, these figs should be to you to carbon. And then and then he finds out his father and brother are standing there also. He never wanted his father and brother not to eat the figs. So and there are other people as well. So you have a group of people eating. He said the items should be forbidden. There are carbon. But then he sees his father and brother amongst them. So father and brother are mutter, everyone else is asr. They're all mutter. The second half of the Mishnah with this neder of te'inim against the father and brother is going to be tomorrow's discussion. For now, we're going to finish off today's shir with just the first part of the Gemara. Tana, we learned in a brisa. Kishem shenidrei shagos motarim. Kach shavua ishkagos mutaris. The exact same template from the previous yesterday's daf, that just like a neder of a shaygig is mutter, so to a shvua of a shaygig is mutter. Hechi dami, what's the case? Shvua shigagais, kegain Rav Kahana v'Ravasi. What's the case? Hadin amar shvua sadachi amar Rav. This one says, I make a shvua. This is what the Rebbe Rav said in Shir. V'adin amar, and the other one says, no, shvua sadachi amar Rav. This is what the Rebbe said in Shir. So why is the shvu of a shoygeg? Because each one, each one swore this is truly what the Rebbe said. It's almost like, was there a tie at first? Who was first? This one swears he was safe. This one swears he was out. And each one is swearing that this is actually what happened. So too, Rav Kahana and Rav Asi, each one is swearing this is what the Rebbe Rav said, and that's called a Shvuah B'Shoigig. Because he never intended, of course, there to be a Shvuah, and therefore it will be mutter, just like the case of a Neder B'Shoigig, and we'll take up from the Ra Eisan Eichel in the next year, B'Siyata Dishmaya.